and welcome to In Business Talks 2, a podcast about people who work together as a couple. Learn the secrets of business partnerships, the benefits and pitfalls of working together, be it husband and wife, father and son, mother and daughter, friends, relatives or any other combination of business partnerships. We're your hosts, Tracy and Ian, founders of In Business, a networking and business support community. We host online and face-to-face events, and we'd love to meet you. So, why not come along? The link to book is in the show notes.
In this episode, we dive into the inspiring story of Leila and Ad, a couple who turned the challenges of COVID lockdown into an opportunity to build a business together. With a background in academia and a growing family, they found themselves craving more flexibility and fulfilment. So they launched Dordana, a UK-based brand specialising in unique scented gifts. We'll explore how they transitioned from academia to entrepreneurship, the joys and struggles of balancing business with parenting, and their mission to make Dordana one of the UK's favourite independent brands. So without further ado, let's crack on with In Business Talks 2. So welcome to our In Business Talks 2 podcast. Today we have with us Leila and Ad of Dordana. So welcome.
Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, good to see you both. Before we start, I'll ask you, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Mm-hmm. So my name's Leila, and we have founded a very new business, a new brand called Dordana, and we're hoping to make it into a brand of scented special gifts. So we're working on bringing together a beautiful line of products based around fragrances for people and their homes.
Oh, excellent.
Is that soaps or candles or both?
So we've started with handcrafted glycerine soap, but we're hoping to build into exactly the things that you've just said. Hoping candles, room diffusers. I would love to get into perfumes as well.
Yeah.
Right. And do you do them all yourself?
So they're not actually made by us, but we work with the artisans who hand make the soaps currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, cool.
So and going forward, I'd like to continue working, certainly outsource the manufacturing, but working with the people that make them.
That's brilliant. Okay.
Lovely.
So first question then, are you ready, guys? First question. So how did you end up getting into business together? Whose idea was it to go into business together then?
Well, it was very much mine, actually. So I come from, before I had my children, I was carving out a very exciting career in academic research. I worked in university. I'm a psychologist by background. And I always planned to continue my career going back to academia. But I took a career break when my second child was born. And it became longer than I planned due to the COVID pandemic. Otherwise, I would have gone back sooner. So being on a slightly longer than planned career break, you get to, I guess you just sort of start thinking, what do I really want to do now that I've got two small children? Is that line of work, is it serving me? Is it going to fit around our life as a family of four?
Chasing funding, going up the career ladder.
Yeah.
Your priorities change as you...
Yeah. And it was, and I loved it. It was a great job. I worked with great people. It was very stimulating. But there were certain things that are not conducive when you've got two little children, long work hours, quite strict deadlines. But I was craving something outside of family life as well, just for me. I hadn't lost my ambition and sense of sort of adventure. And it was really...
Sorry, let me come in. Yeah, I just want to paint more of a picture. This is the dark and gloomy days of lockdown. So in the dark and gloomy days of lockdown, with two young kids, nappy changing, hand washing, feeding, nappy changing, hand washing, feeding. So this is the inspiration comes out of the darkness, I guess.
And I remember just one day saying to Ad that I'd love to do something more creative and something that would offer me flexibility to work around the children better. And it was really, I came across a podcast about, and it was women who had started businesses, had become quite successful, and they were sharing their stories. And that planted a seed of inspiration. And the first one I listened to was Julie Dean, the founder of the Cambridge Satchel Company. And she was explaining how she started this tiny business on a shoestring. And she was a stay-at-home mum at the time, so I could relate to that. That's what I was at the time. And never had I imagined that I would start a business. I hadn't been looking for it. I have no one in my circle, no background in business. But it just planted that seed of inspiration. And off the back of listening and enjoying those stories, I started having conversations with Ad that, I think I'm gonna give this a go. I'd really like to start something for myself. Wasn't clear on what I wanted to do, but I felt that was I could sense there was going to be a creative kind of expression that I could release through starting a range of products with your own aesthetic and your own style. And your own messaging that you want to put out there. And then really it was very ad hoc that I brought Ad on for the ride. It wasn't a formalised partnership at all. So I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, because it's not like we made a decision, right, we're going to go into business, we've got all our spreadsheets, we've done all our market research, it's either now or never, we're going to do this. No, it wasn't like that. I'd already been running a business for about 5 years or more. My father was in business. His father before him was in business. So we sort of drifted in. We were intentional in some ways, but in other ways we sort of drifted into it. It was very natural for us. It fitted around, what we wanted to do with ourselves, what we wanted to do as a family. So yeah, it just developed from there. So maybe other relationships, other partners, it might be completely alien to them. Oh, you want to go into business? This is not something that we do. That's just, do your 9 to 5, have your holiday each year, your 2 cars and your dog, or whatever, is your sort of setup, which is fine for some people. But no, that's not. We were both on board with the business as soon as Leila thought up about it, really.
And what made you decide upon the product then? What was that made you think, well, I want to start making soaps and perfumes? And what sparked that? Was it an interest that you had, or how did that come about?
Well, just going back to those dark and gloomy days of lockdown, I was, it was hard looking after an infant and a toddler during those long days, very little help. Literally being locked in the house. I just found that the inspiration for the first product was actually my skin was struggling. I was doing so much more hand washing, not only because we're in a pandemic, but simply because I'm stuck in a house doing all the feeding, the prepping of the food, the nappy changing, the toileting of my young children. My skin just became really dry and very cracked until somebody said to me, have you thought about trying glycerine soap? And really it was from there, that was the spark of inspiration towards, why we brought out the first product, which is handcrafted glycerine soap. So I personally found a real relief and benefit from using a much more natural and gentle soap. And I knew that I wanted to bring out these kind of premium, I call them little luxuries that just uplift you in your normal, ordinary day. And so I set about, that was when I made a decision, seeing the relief from my own skin. And I really did see such a huge difference in the way that it made your skin and your body feel. And I set about trying to find somebody I could work with in terms of suppliers.
I was just going to add something, actually. So we mentioned a couple of USPs, unique selling points of the product. So one is that it's made by artisans. The other one is that it is good for your skin, because of the high glycerin content. But I think Leila did just touch on another one. In business and when setting up business, as you'll know, you can dream up a product, But if you can't get a supplier to fulfill the product and get them to supply at the terms and conditions that you can work with, for example, quantities, then that puts a limit on things. So there was some sort of practical things as well. So finding a good supplier, that was important, and the quantities. So quite often you can find people that can supply a product that you need for if you're spending tens of thousands of pounds, but we weren't looking to spend that much to begin with, and especially in terms of customization to get the product as you want, then for a low minimum order quantity, there's not many suppliers that you can work with. So there's both the sort of the features of the product, but also the practicalities, which anyone going into business might want to consider both.
So what about your vision for the business? Is it a shared vision? Was it mainly your idea or your vision, Leila? And did you, like you say, get dragged along for the ride?
I do. I think I'm very much driving the direction of where the brand goes in the future. Obviously, I take Ad's opinions and I sense check with him, but I think I am sort of driving the creative direction of it. And it's actually something that we are working on in terms of styling the brand. I'm hoping over the next 6 months that we can really clarify who we want this brand to resonate with, who would we like ideally our customers to be. But the dream that I envision is to be known, be a known independent brand that sells beautiful scented gifts. That's my dream.
Yeah, we met at a networking event, didn't we, Leila?
We did.
And you brought some samples along, and they did look absolutely beautiful and look very, very classy and very, like you say, a little luxury.
Thank you.
Bringing into your day.
So what?
Sorry, I like to think of myself as the brains and Leila's the brawn, but really, I think Leila's the brains and the soul to the business as well. And I try and support her as much as I can.
Yeah. So what are your roles within the business? What do you each do?
So, well, when you sort of thankfully we've had some lovely feedback, and we are managing to create that perception that we were hoping to, as you just said, it looks quite high end and classy, and that's exactly the look that we're hoping to create for people. And that's all thanks to Ad, because he's the designer. So he's created all of the branding, the packaging, our website, which is soon to be released, and it's looking lovely. So he in terms of our roles, we do keep them fairly distinct actually, which works well for us. Ad is very much sort of leading on the operations side of the business. He works very systematically, and he's got a much tidier mind than I have, so he can keep the actual business organized with spreadsheets and systems and all of the things that I find quite boring but are so necessary. And finance, so operations, finance and design is with Ad, and then with myself it's more about the creative strategy. I'm happy to be the face behind the business, so I'm the one that people will see on, in marketing and sales, sort of leading on sales and marketing really. So I'm getting more involved in social media now. We're trying to create more content on Instagram, on our @shop Dordana page. So I'm the person that people will see as the face, as the person behind the business, and then Ad works happily in the wings.
In the wings, yeah. Well, it's good that you've got those strengths, and I suppose from, if you say you've run a business before, Ad, you've got that experience, haven't you? So it's good that you can bring that along to Leila.
Yeah, it was quite natural. Again, it wasn't. We did have conversations about how to split roles and how not to step on each other's feet. But it was quite natural. So I was used to doing my tax return, used to keeping records of expenses, used to, keeping job lists and task lists. So I was happy to do that as well for Leila. What I didn't want to do is learn a whole new sort of set of skills around social media or managing the Amazon platform, because that would be a whole extra thing for me to take on. So I was quite clear. I just wanted Leila to deal with all that. Leave me to do what I've been doing already, and I'm happy to do that for Dordana. But then everything new, that was with Leila.
That sounds like a good division of strengths there.
He mentioned Amazon. That's because our first product we sell as a trio gift set of the handcrafted soap, and we've been selling exclusively on Amazon for just a little bit over a year. So we've been testing the waters of selling on a third-party marketplace, and obviously Amazon being the biggest e-commerce marketplace, that was sort of an obvious choice. But it's certainly, what I've learned from it is it's got its pros and cons, and I think it's served us well in the short term, but as we go forward into next year, really what I want to turn the focus on is to selling off our own website, just selling exclusively, and really work on building the brand and an online presence for ourselves that's the holy grail, isn't it? Without the need of a third party website.
Yeah, because that way you'll get more return, won't you, than paying somebody else. Yeah,
that's the hope. But it's so, if you're wanting to just get going in a practical sort of sense, Amazon have an amazing logistics infrastructure, and so if you partner with them and you sign up to be a professional seller, you can take advantage of that, and they fulfill all the orders, which makes life very much easier. But it's a steep learning curve in terms of actually running the accounts. But it's all the infrastructure and the ecosystem on Amazon is really advanced.
Other downsides include that you don't actually get to know your customers. But yes, we knew from the beginning that we couldn't fulfill straight away, and that a lot of people were already invested on Amazon already, ready there with their payment cards, just ready to buy your product, hopefully. So Amazon was the way to go, and it still is for us at the moment.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of socials, I know I usually save this question to the end, but if people wanted to find that product on Amazon, what would they be searching for, and what are your Instagram?
Yes, so we're creating a lot of content on Instagram mainly, at Shop Dordana, and there is a direct link to the Amazon sales page on there where you will find our products. Otherwise, if you want to go via Amazon directly, just type in the search bar Dordana or Dordana soap, and it should come up.
That's Dordana.
Lovely, right? Yeah, because I'm sure that will pique some interest for some people. Definitely, I know I've seen them, but I'll have another look. Okay, so what have you found from being in business together? How has that affected your relationship? Has it strengthened it or changed it in any way?
So I think we enjoy working together. I should say we do enjoy work. There's no thinking about it. I can be more certain than that. We do enjoy working together. We don't have like a cut-off, like we won't talk about business at the family table, or we leave our work at work. I mean, if we didn't have business to talk about with each other and this sort of shared passion, then, what would we talk about? We'd have to think of things. I'm sure we'd find something. But at the moment, we're happy when we really like being in business together on this shared adventure. And of course, working together, getting to know each other's styles a bit better. It all helps to improve our relationship. Yeah.
So I think I do think it has strengthened. I mean, it's been a learning curve to learn how to work together, because it's one thing to be married and live together, but to actually learn how to complete tasks together and projects it has been a learning curve. So we've had to things that we've had to have techniques in place in how we're keeping in touch with each other during the day. It's quite difficult in an evening when the children are home, but every morning we start off with a quick phone call, and we have a joint task list that we work from. And we've had to really learn that, we need to have these sort of systems in place. Otherwise we find that we don't have really time to have one-to-one uninterrupted conversations with each other. So that part has been a learning curve. And also, but I do think for the family, this has been nothing but a good thing so far. I mean, I see it very much as a family adventure. We're learning entrepreneurship and business together as a family, and our children are so engaged and excited about it. And we try and involve them as much as we can. They draw us pictures of logos that they think that we should implement,
brand colours,
and colours, and the products that they think that we should stock in the future.
I bet that's interesting.
My son, we've been recently over the past few months setting up our stall at craft fairs to give that a go, and my little boy loves to come along with me and try some face-to-face sort of sales, and he's learning so much, and how to speak to people, how to be polite, and
how to set up the table. He's a real asset.
So it's a real it's a family in business, really, not just a couple in business.
It's budding entrepreneur there. Just out of interest, how old are they?
So they're primary school age. They're still quite little.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. That's great. So, it sounds like you're fitting the business around your family, which is a great thing. I think that's the beauty of, like I said before, about the flexibility of being your own bosses.
Yeah, and that was certainly intentional. Even the way that I work, the hours that I work. I'm running between the school runs, so I work between the school runs, and then on a Saturday as well, and that's when Ad can take over with looking after the children, and for now that works okay for us.
And it could turn the other way around. Before we used to sort of manage the childcare in a different way, but at this point, when I'm working on the website and Leila's working on socials, it just makes sense this way. So I'm doing slightly longer hours at the moment, and Leila's doing the school run, but it could quite easily change in the near future.
Yeah. I suppose that's the benefit, like we say. So, what do you think the best thing is about being in business together?
I think for us, well, for me, I really needed a creative and outlets, and I wanted something outside of my children, but outside of the family, but really it's the lifestyle and the flexibility of being self-employed, making up your own workday, being able to take some time off as and when needed. It's that we're trying to, this business is to try and afford us a lifestyle, not so much in terms of riches, but really just in terms of being in control of our time. I think we value that, having that flexibility.
And having been in business so long now, I can't imagine calling in to say I want to take the morning off, or want to book my holiday 6 months in advance or something. I just can't imagine it. Just live in the moment. Sometimes we plan for some things, but just like if you want to, or you need to take a morning off or something, then or if you want to reschedule your day in some way, I just do it, and that's very liberating. And also working for yourself, there's hardly a dull moment. Doing a sort of employed 9-to-5 job, sometimes it can be and we have done this, sometimes it can be a struggle getting through the week. And you're counting down the days to your holiday sometimes.
Or the weekend.
Exactly. And or depending on your job, I've been in jobs that I haven't enjoyed, and you're clock watching when can you take your break? When can you take your lunch? And then after your lunch, when is it going to be afternoon break? And then when is it going to be 5 o'clock?
I have to say that it's, we're creating a business that honestly, it is a joy for me to work on. It doesn't feel like, even though progress feels slow at times, it's just I feel excited to work on it every day. I genuinely look forward to it. If you'd have told me that I would be running off to work in the office on a Saturday morning, most Saturdays, if you'd have told me that 5 years ago, I never would have believed you. But it's I've got so much energy and passion and motivation to try and bring it to fruition and create the vision into reality. I just don't get bored of it. I don't get tired of it.
It's like you've got 3 children, isn't it? You've got another baby.
I do think of it like that, and you're nurturing the brand Dordana,
And just to mention about the Saturdays, actually, that's one of the sort of key sort of ideas that we've had about working together. So, okay, Leila in the week does the school run and, she's with the kids. But Saturday is her sort of day for herself. And that really helps for her to be productive just one day a week, full time. And in the office, for example. Whereas in the week, I'm in the office and Leila's working from home.
What do you think's been the best part of being in business so far? I think we've probably touched on this, haven't we, with the freedom and the flexibility thing. Yeah, that's probably...
and just the sense of excitement that it's given me in my life personally. For me, this is my adventure. I was really craving, especially as a stay-at-home mum on a career break, wondering where to pick up a professional kind of endeavour. Now that I'm a new mum of 2 young children, I sort of felt at a crossroads in my life, but I knew I wanted to do something adventurous. And I'm not naturally an adventurous person. I think both of myself and Dad were quite introverted, quite cautious, conservative people. And, some families, they bond over, I don't know, playing music together, or they have a cycling hobby together.
Watching the football or going to the football.
Exactly. So, but this is our sort of adventure, really. And it's something that I don't think anybody would have expected us, or we would have expected to embark on. So I'm really enjoying that sense of adventure and creativity and excitement that it gives us in our family.
And it's a great education for the kids, problem solving, seeing it, not being scared to try something new, because there's no point in them, doing a GCSE or an A-level in business studies and then reading it in a book. They get to see it, taste it, experience it.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I know my Dad was always in business, and he always used to get my mum doing my mum had a few little businesses over the years. And I always knew that I wanted to be in business by myself. And I have for most of my adult life. I think I've only ever been employed for about 6 years in my life. The rest of the time I've been self-employed, and I just knew that I wanted to work for myself. And I think that's just come from seeing my dad. He could go play golf when he wanted to, and mum fit her, the homemaking and the cooking and stuff in and around working a little part-time thing that my dad had set her up doing. That was always, he didn't like her being idle. I think that was it. She'd have played golf all day, but he used to like to keep her busy, I think. But yeah, you learn those. It is a skill. It's a mindset as well, I think. Being self-employed, it is different, isn't it, than working for somebody?
It's very different, and I think it was never. I never really thought that it would be a possibility for me. It never occurred to me. My dad was self-employed, but not so much in a business kind of way. But as I say, none of us in my family have gone down the business route, and I think I probably will be one of the last people in my family that they would think would start a business. But it just never occurred to me. It was never even presented. When you don't know anybody or you don't see it being modelled for you, things don't occur to you. So I am really, I value the fact that we're, not only encouraging our children to be good students academically and take their education seriously, but if they ever want to go into business. Hopefully they've seen, something from a young age that will give them those extra skills that they don't really teach in the school system. So I'm hoping that through this experience, we are broadening their horizons and their options as well, and skills.
Yeah. And it's nice that you're on board with it as well, Ad, because you could have said, oh no, you just get on with it yourself and, you just go and do your thing. But I think it is nice that you're doing it together.
And there might have been advantages for some people. They might have wanted to do it that way, like one sort of employed income and one self-employed income, but we quite enjoy it this way.
This is Ian's question. Ian likes asking this. I'm going to ask Leila first. Has Ad got an annoying habit at work? Is there something that drives you mad that hopefully he knows about, because it's not going to be a surprise to him? Something that you just say, no, he's doing that thing again.
Well, do you know what? We actually don't work on a day-to-day basis. We work in separate locations,
separate buildings,
day.
Yeah, miles apart.
And that works a treat for me, because if we had to work physically together in an office, I don't know, maybe it'd have to be a big office, maybe in the future. But I like the fact that we have to work separately. But I wouldn't say it's a little sort of thing or a bad habit, but it's more, I suppose everybody has different styles and approaches to work. So Ad is very, very methodical and very systematic. And sometimes when you're trying to, in product development or designing a packaging, I'm just dying to get onto the next stage, in being impatient. And I just, why can't you finish it? Why is it not finished now? So he's got a very slow and steady and considered approach. And sometimes that can drive me a little bit mad. But he does things really well, and they always turn out, the way that they should. And he knows when you shouldn't cut corners, and I think that is one of his strengths. So, but it's that whole approach of being sort of slow and steady and considered. And I just want to race on.
You're a bit more impatient. Yeah. I think that'll be when I ask you that question, then, Ad.
Yeah, so the sort of bad habits or the weaknesses, however you want to put it, they can also be strengths. So Leila's very focused, which is great. If something needs doing, like photography or a task, Leila can focus on it. Whereas I've got different balls juggling in the air, different pots bubbling on the stove, as it were. So I've got less focus, so I'm more methodical. Leila is very focused, but on the other hand, if I want to get hold of her, we're meant to talk for 5 minutes, to have a debrief or a recap in the morning, or I sent a message, but you haven't replied. That can be a bit difficult, because she's too focused. She's not checking her messages because she's in the zone. So that's what I mean.
So he describes it as going AWOL.
Well, they're not too bad. I don't think there'll be any divorce going on from that.
Hopefully not.
No. What has been the biggest high so far for Dordana? What has there been something that's that you made a breakthrough, or was it just the developing of the packaging? What has been the biggest high?
Yeah, the feedback that we get. Yeah. From customers,
the feedback on the aesthetics of it. So when people say, gosh, this looks so sophisticated, I love the aesthetic, I love the packaging, just people are making all the right noises, and we know that we're as we mentioned earlier, creating that perception of a stylish, sophisticated brand that we're hoping to. For me personally, it's every time a customer buys from us, whether it be a stranger on Amazon who has found us just by typing in luxury glycerine soap, or whether it's face-to-face customers at the fairs that we've been selling at, it's never lost on me that sense of gratitude, that somebody would be willing to part with their hard-earned money and choose a relatively unknown, very new, hopefully up-and-coming brand, in a sea of other brands that they could buy products from, soaps from, that they've chosen ours. For me, that's, you've put something out into the world and you see people resonating and liking it.
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
It's a great feeling, and that you've created it with the help of our lovely suppliers and artisans. That feeling's never lost on me, that sense of gratitude and humility.
Yeah, the joy of making a sale is always there, yeah.
There's always that pleasure, isn't there? And just before we finish, because I know we're getting short on time, what tips or advice would you give someone who's thinking of going into business with their husband or wife? Because I know a few people have said to us, "Oh, how do you two work together? How do you work as a couple?" Like you said, it's a learning curve, isn't it? But what advice would you give somebody?
Well, for me, before any life phase, just generally, whether you're about to have a child or you're going to do a degree course or you're going to have a business, any life phase, if you're going to a big life phase, I think a declutter around the house is good. Or, if there's any repairs that need doing, like the shed roof is leaking or something like that, get that sorted. Have a bit of stability. It doesn't have to be perfect. Life always has its unexpected moments, but if there's something there that needs to be dealt with, whether it's decluttering the house or fixing the shed roof, get those things sorted and then move on, and hopefully upwards as well, onwards and upwards.
Get your house in order, yeah. Good one.
I think I'd probably advise a bit more on the fundamentals. So I think if you're in a happy and healthy relationship, then, a business relationship could work well, because I think you need to be in a sort of a settled and a stable partnership before you start a business, because a business will test your relationship.
It will.
And you'll have to probably learn how to actually cooperate and communicate in terms of working on a joint project together in a way that you've not had to do maybe, in your sort of personal relationship. So I think if you're not in a good relationship, I would probably say don't do it.
Yeah.
First and foremost. So just sort of think about the quality and where you're at actually in your personal relationship. And if you get on, most of the time, if you get on with each other well and you're quite stable and happy, then that's a good sign sort of to go into business together.
Great advice there. And it has been really lovely speaking to you. It was lovely when we met you at the networking event, and good luck with the business, success with the business. Please check out Dordana on Shop Dordana on Instagram, and
on our website as well. Check out our website if I may be
when's it launching?
So people can check it out now. We've got a few tweaks that we want to make, but you can find us at www.dordana.com.
Dordana.com. Lovely. We'll put those links in the show notes, and hopefully you'll get some more business from that.
Thank you very much, Tracy.
So thank you very much for talking to us today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for inviting us. Pleasure to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
We're almost at the end of this week's show, and just as a reminder before we go, don't forget to book your place at one of our online networking events where you can meet some great business owners and build those business relationships. If you're in the Wetherby, Leeds, Harrogate, York or Wakefield areas, then why not come along to one of our face-to-face events to meet us? And remember, the best business comes from the best relationships. The link to book is in the show notes.
Do you wish you could network with more confidence? We understand the challenges you face, whether you're new to networking or simply looking to improve your skills. Our networking know-how course will take you through the process and provide you with the practical tips and techniques to help you make more meaningful connections.
We'd also like to mention our books, which are available on Amazon. How to Improve Your Business Networking Skills, 52 Tips to Help You with Your Networking. Also, our Notably Networking One-to-One Networking Notebook. It's a place where you can keep all your notes from those very important follow-up one-to-ones. And last but not least, our 90 Days to Your Success Journal, where you can plan, set and plot those actions that you will take to achieve your goals.
Thank you so much for joining us this week on In Business Talks 2. We hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, all that we ask is that you simply tell a friend about the show. And please follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, this is Ian and Tracy, and together we are In Business. Goodbye.
Goodbye.